like to thank the Rotary Career Symposium for inviting me today to speak on the day in the life of a truck driver, and I'd like to thank you all for coming and showing interest in the career of long-haul truck driving. As mentioned in the intro, I grew up in a trucking family. My dad was a truck driver. My grandpa was a gravel hauler and a farmer. So I've been around trucks all my life. It's as we always say, it's in my blood. And in high school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. I was an average student, didn't particularly enjoy school, but my family always told me that it was very important to graduate high school, and then you can do whatever you want after that, but make sure you graduate high school. So that's what I did. And times were different then. There wasn't a lot of, I didn't put a lot of stake in going to post-secondary education. I guess if you want to be a doctor, lawyer, teacher, or something, then that definitely is a requirement. But for me, none of those things seemed to be for me. I'd spent a lot of time around trucks growing up. I'd go with my dad on weekends. I'd help wash them, clean them, help grease them. I learned, he'd get me to run for tools, and we'd work on them. He'd even let me move them around the yard before I could legally drive, stuff like that. So I learned a lot in the industry, about the industry. Even I'd go on short trips with my dad to Saskatchewan or Alberta before I had my Class 1 driver's license, and even sometimes late at night when there was not a lot of traffic, he'd let me slip behind the wheel. But don't tell anybody that's a secret. But I seen as my dad's business grew, I could see that there was opportunity there for me to perhaps get into that career. So that's kind of the path that I went down. So I didn't go to a formal driving school. I was taught by my dad. My dad had some drivers. He had grown his small company to a few trucks. So I learned from his drivers, just being around them. And but I thought I was a big shot. I thought I knew everything when it was time to go get my Class 1 license, and I quickly learned I was wrong because I failed the first time I went, and I was devastated. I thought I knew it all. But I kind of smartened up. I studied, and then I went back for my test a second time and passed it that time. So the very next day, there I was out in a big semi 18-wheeler heading down the road to Calgary. But I wasn't very cocky. I tell you, it was a pretty scary experience. Being the sole person in charge of that big unit, traveling on the highway with all the cars and traffic, and then not really. Calgary was a bigger city than Winnipeg. I'd never been there before. I shouldn't say I had been there before, but only been there a few times, so I wasn't really familiar with the city. So here I am trying to navigate through the city, and it was different. So I was a little scared, actually, to be honest. But nonetheless, there I was, trucking right out of high school, bringing home a paycheck of like $2,000 every 2 weeks kind of thing. And I thought I was a king, like it was going well. So my plan, I had the vision to start my career as a driver and, do that for a while, learn the ropes. And then I thought always the opportunity was there to buy my own truck and become an owner-operator and a small business owner kind of thing. I would do that for a few years, kind of learn, some of the business side of those things. And then my idea was my dad's company had continued to grow, and I was thinking I had some opportunity to then move into the office and, learn some of the dispatching and the business side of the things. So that was my plan. But unfortunately, the plan didn't go quite as planned. I had just become an owner-operator, and I'd driven for 2 years, and then I had just become an owner-operator. I was about a year into that, owning my own truck, and then my dad passed away suddenly. And instead of learning the business slowly and kind of at my own pace, basically I was forced to, jump into the deep end and swim for my life, because we kind of made a plan. We wanted to keep the company going, and it was like, okay, let's make this happen. So I came off the road. We put a driver in my truck, and we decided to try and keep the business going. So I learned a lot. I was through successes and both failures. It was challenging times for sure. But that was 1998. Lindenboy Truck was a fleet of 10 trucks at that time. We had a dispatcher, a mechanic, and a bookkeeper. And we've grown a lot since then and continue to grow every year. We now operate a fleet of 53 trucks, 4 dispatchers, 4 mechanics, and numerous other management and staff positions. In 2011, we started a new division, and now we're handling goods from overseas, ocean, air, rail type shipments as well. So, while I haven't been on the road for quite some time, I still miss it. I can't drive down the highway without looking at every truck that goes by and looking at the name and the make and everything like that. And there are times where I'll get in the truck and take a short trip or take a trip just to get out, and it's great. I still do miss it for sure. So I thought it might be nice to show you guys a little video. One of my longtime drivers, he likes to make trip videos. They're on YouTube and Facebook and everything. So we put a little video together. So I'm going to show you that video here now.
Hey, I'm Jeremy Derricks. I've worked at Lendebois Trucking for almost 13 years. I started trucking when I was 21 because there's money to be made. Job security, high pay, and room for advancement attracted me to the industry. This job is challenging, demanding, and rewarding. The income I earn provides very well for my family. I'd go nuts in a job that was repetitive and mundane. There's a lot of planning and problem solving as a driver. Every day I coordinate my schedule to keep pickup and deliveries on time. There are many different qualities and skills that you need to be a successful truck driver. I think I've been successful because I can work independently. I can recognize and assess problems and properly communicate them when I need others involved. I find that being detail-oriented is a necessity. I take time to plan my trips, I properly manage my time and deliveries and pre-plan my routes, fuel, and rest stops. I make sure that shippers and receivers know when I'll arrive and keep in touch when I'm going to be delayed. Overlooking or getting lazy with little details are things that can cause delays. These delays are preventable and are huge wastes of time. Above all else, attention to detail has kept me accident-free for over 1 million miles. I inspect the vehicle multiple times a day, every day. I check weather reports every day. I'm committed to safe driving practices, and I know exactly what's happening around the vehicle at all times. Attention to details keeps me and those driving around me safe. As rewarding as a career in trucking is, it's not without sacrifice. There's a lot of time away from home, and if you have family, it can be difficult at times. It means missed birthdays, holidays, and other major family events. There's also a lot of driving in adverse weather conditions. There's a time to shut down when it's too bad out, like when a blizzard or tornado hits, but I can't just shut down every time it gets not so nice to drive. Driving in bad weather is stressful and puts me at increased risk, but unfortunately is necessary. A typical day in the life of a truck driver includes starting each day with a vehicle inspection. It's required by law, and ensuring the equipment is in good working order is essential for safety. After this, I drive to my destination. If I have a pickup or delivery that day, I'll be coordinating with the shipping or receiving company. Finding locations and getting the truck back into the dock can be a challenging part of the job. It's not fun getting lost while driving a big truck, and some shippers and receivers, they're in tight spaces and it makes it difficult to maneuver. Then more driving. I do a lot of driving in this line of work. Each day I can legally drive for 11 hours in the United States and 13 hours in Canada. There's more to it, but I usually drive between 10 and 12,000 miles per month. Once the work is done, I end each day by making dinner, and I make it a point to call home every night to talk to my wife and kids. The trucking industry is a great career choice with many secure job opportunities. If you're considering a career in trucking, my advice is check out YouTube. There's a lot of drivers vlogging, and you'll see exactly how life is on the road. Some of them even share useful information and tips which can help rookie drivers as they learn how to become a truck driver.
So that's Jeremy's video. These are just going to be some sights and things that you're going to see, that you possibly can see traveling across North America in a truck. So from the outside looking in, it looks like a truck driver can be a pretty lonely job. Basically just driving by yourself all the time, but it's not really true. Success in the job relies on proper communication and planning. Drivers are in constant contact with shippers, receivers, their dispatchers, various members of their company, safety and compliance manager. If their truck has a mechanical problem on the road, they're in contact with the repair shop or the maintenance department. Um, and they're continually updating the shipper about any possible problems. So there is more to than just driving the truck, that's for sure. So being a day in the life of a truck driver, it's more than just waking up, driving, picking up freight, driving, delivering, and driving. No run is ever the same. Even if you're going to go to the same destination that you did 3 weeks ago, different traffic patterns, different weather. Maybe there's an issue at the border with the paperwork. Who knows? It's just there's always can be changes. And also there's a lot of people in the supply chain that do their things differently, which means no uniformity. For instance, you could arrive at a shipper that might have plenty of security precautions and safety procedures. They might require you to sign in, present ID, and wear reflective vests, goggles, hard hats, steel-toed boots, that kind of stuff. Then you might get to the next shipper who's maybe just a smaller business, and you walk in the warehouse door and you got to search around for somebody to help you. So you never know what's going to happen, or nothing's ever the same. And the weather is one of the big things, of course, too. So one day, you could be in Texas and the weather is plus 15 or plus 20, and you're on your way back to Winnipeg, and in a day and a half later, you're in North Dakota in a snowstorm. So we've had incidents this year where drivers have left Winnipeg. It's been minus 30, and they're like, okay, great, I'm going to Texas and get out of this cold weather. And they get to Dallas, and there was a big ice storm in Dallas that they hardly ever get. So those are the things that you got to deal with on a daily basis. As far as changes in the industry go, I would say the trucking industry is always evolving. The most common changes, just like any industry, is technology. Communication, on how we communicate between the driver and the office are way different. When I started, we used a map and or an atlas. Cell phones were in their infancy, and the cell plans in the U.S. were cost you a fortune. So we'd use phone books at truck stops, and payphones. You'd have to call the customer, get directions, that thing. You didn't have GPS. So they were very seldom anybody had GPS back then. And again, smartphones, they weren't around. There was no Google, Facebook, Twitter, that kind of stuff back in the day. Today we use satellite communication with the trucks. All the trucks are satellite equipped. They can use that to communicate back and forth to the office. Drivers have smartphones, tablets, and the GPS, of course. Better cell plans, Wi-Fi, and video chat to make communicating with loved ones while on the road better than ever, and they continue to improve. Truck technology has changed dramatically as well. The exteriors of the trucks and trailers are designed differently to be more aerodynamic, which affects the sight lines of how the truck can handle and avoids blind spots. Trucks nowadays are way more easy to drive than they were before. A lot of them, you almost feel like you're driving a car. They're so comfortable nowadays. The driver needs to have a basic working knowledge of the emission control technology as well. It's a new technology that is important to today's truck drivers, and they need to interact with it on a frequent basis. Today's trucks emit far less pollution. Cleaner vehicles on the road help the air quality in major cities, which directly affects human health. Today, places such as Los Angeles, New York, and Toronto have less smog, partly due to improvements in technology. 10 years ago, you couldn't see the mountains around Los Angeles, and today you can. New interior designs aimed at driver comfort, such as more storage, better layouts, and new technology. For example, engine or cab heaters that will provide heat in the cab without having to run the truck. They burn a tenth of the fuel that the truck will burn while it's idling, so it's a big advantage. Drivers' lifestyles have become more important to trucking companies as well. Drivers aren't spending 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time out on the road. Companies that recognize driver require and receive more home time. You're away a lot, but there's more of a balance. Some of our guys are gone 3 days, 5 days, 6 days, that kind of thing, home for a couple days. The rules governing the hours truck drivers can operate are always changing as well. New science about driver fatigue and sleep disorders are guiding these changes. Gone are the days where you'd hear of drivers driving like straight through to Toronto 24 hours straight. It just it doesn't happen nowadays. Trucking companies don't allow it. It just, you can't get away with it anymore like you did 10, 15, 20 years ago. The qualities and skills that you'll need to do this job, I would say over the next few years, as with any industry, you're going to see a large part of the workforce retire. This industry is about to become much younger. There's going to be a huge demand for not only quality drivers, but quality talent. We need to replace a lot of experienced labor and management as well, who have shaped this industry. And quality people will find various opportunities in the industry. Going forward, it's going to be an advantage to have skills and education in all things entrepreneurial, such as business administration, logistics, management, and communications. These skills will help you in advance and innovate in a changing industry and a changing world. There's many opportunities for a truck driver as well. Many of my office staff and management team started as truck drivers. With experience and some further education, drivers can move into dispatch, management, sales positions. Many of these positions require working with drivers on a daily basis, and their over-the-road experience makes them better suited for the jobs of dealing with the drivers and relating to the struggles that the drivers have while on the road. Company drivers can often buy their own trucks and become owner-operators. There's more risk, but much higher payoff if you can run your own small business and be successful at it. Owner-operators can own multiple trucks, put a driver in one while they drive the second one. They can even branch off and start their own company, as my dad did. I would say work conditions. Career in trucking has many advantages. There's plenty of room for advancement and good job security. These are jobs and careers that cannot be shipped overseas. Remember, if you bought it, a truck brought it. Everything you're wearing today, your iPhones, your anything, was on a truck at one point in its journey from the manufacturing process to the consumer. So trucking is not going away. Education required. The barrier to entry in this industry is relatively low, but yet the pay can be pretty good, where drivers can earn between $50,000 and $70,000 a year. It takes a valid Class 1 driver's license. You can only get that once you turn 18. You have to be 21 years of age to drive in the U.S. You need an air brake endorsement, which is a written test like you would do your beginner's test, and the ability to pass a drug test. By law, drivers that travel into the U.S. are required to submit to random alcohol and drug testing. A clean driver's abstract is very important. If somebody walks into our business and is looking for a job and they have like a 2-page driver's abstract with speeding tickets, and seat belts, and tailgating or whatever, we're probably not going to look at them too hard. It's really important. Your driving record really kind of tells a lot about somebody, about their driving habits as well. And a clean criminal record. A lot of the companies require drivers to go cross-border. The cross-border trade is huge, so you need to have a clean criminal record to cross the border, be able to get a passport. Trucking attracts people from various backgrounds. Sometimes people choose it as a young career or their first career like I did. Others come into the industry as a second career, maybe after a job loss or just, they need a change. We've seen, former accountants. We have some police officers and firefighters that work shift work. They'll work 7 days on, 7 days off, so they'll come and drive for us part-time while they're on their days off, that kind of stuff. So there's many opportunities there. We have a driver who used to be a pilot, actually, as well. Not an airline pilot, but he was flying bush planes up in the north. After hearing an advertisement on the radio from a local driving school, he realized that he could probably be making double the money that he was making. He had spent thousands of dollars and thousands of hours flying to be qualified to fly for these companies, and he was only making half of what he could be making driving a truck. So he took a 6-week training course at a driving school, cost him between $4,000 and $7,000, and he was out driving, making pretty much double what he was making flying bush planes up in the north. So he's pretty ecstatic about that. So the job for trucking, it's not for everybody. getting the paper qualifications and going to the driving school is all relatively simple. It's a process you go through. But it's good communication skills and attitude is what's gonna get you past. You need to be mentally tough, and the industry's fast pace is always changing. So when we're looking for drivers, we're looking for honest, friendly, independent, detail-oriented. Our drivers represent our company at our customers, so we expect them to be professional. And they're responsible for the safe operation of the vehicle. These trucks are expensive, the cargo in them are expensive, and you're sharing the road with the general public. Safety is a huge priority. So procedures for when we're basically looking to hire a driver, or if you're looking to get into it, before we hire anybody, we have to have the clean criminal record and the driver's abstract. Like I said, that's first and foremost. Has to have a valid passport, a valid driver's license. But when we're hiring, we like to find out what expectations the employee has. There's different types of jobs in trucking. There's city drivers, regional, long haul, short haul. There are different types of loads, dry van, flat deck, tanker, that kind of stuff. Full truckload, less than truckload, where you're picking up multiple times in a day. That kind of thing. So we need to make sure that the type of work and the loads that we haul and we have is a right fit for the employee. So once we've determined that we're both a good fit for each other, then we go forward with all the other relevant information. So my advice, for people looking to get into the industry, the trucking industry is rich with opportunities. If you're considering a career in trucking, this is my advice. Leave your ego at the door. As I learned, my cocky know-it-all attitude didn't help me pass the driving test my first time. It was my knowledge and my acceptance that I didn't know everything there was to know about trucking, and that eventually got me to where I was today. There's an expected learning curve, of course. You're not going to be making $70,000 the day you get your driver's license. You learn how to do the job by doing the job. If you're cocky and you think you know it all, you're not going to be open to learn. And there's a lot of experienced older drivers that are willing to share their knowledge. You might run into them if you're trying to back into a tight dock somewhere. Another driver might come up and give you some advice. Take it. They're not trying to put you down or anything. They're just trying to help. So be open to learning, and it's experience really what's going to get you. A problem with that is a lot of times it's hard to get that experience. A lot of companies require experience when they're hiring, but they don't have opportunities to provide you with that experience. So you're gonna, try and find a job, and you're gonna get kind of the door slammed in your face probably a few times. But keep trying. You might have to maybe start at a lower tier, maybe doing city work or something that maybe isn't exactly what you're looking for, but you got to start somewhere. Just get your foot in the door and have a good attitude, work your way up, and it'll get to where you get what you want. So just be open to learning is the biggest thing. So that's all I got for you today. That's my presentation on the day in the life of a truck driver.